And now it's even possible that you can communicate with animals all over the globe.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I should tell you the story about Renates Farm. Have any of you heard that story from Renate or Ernst?
No, none of these, I think, were listening.
Okay. Yeah. Look, what happened was I was invited by my brother over to visit him in Austria. So my brother's name, or our brother's name, Jenny, our brother's name is Anjii Bryers, and he's a healer over there, and he works all through Europe, doesn't he? And so he invited me over to visit him, and we went, on a beautiful tour with Renate. And I wanted to go to the farm. I just wanted to, be on an Austrian farm, and, all of the fantasies that are in your head about, Heidi and,
Okay.
and
that's in Switzerland.
yeah, I know. But, when you're from Australia, it's like, everyone that thinks of Australia, they think of red thing. Yeah, red dust in a little tree in the middle. So that was my fantasy, and we went to the farm, and we were walking the farm, weren't we? And we were walking the farm, and then all of a sudden I heard this voice say to me, "Oh, hello. So if you wouldn't mind, so we've all come here to exactly this farm, to exactly this land, to exactly these people at exactly this time, because we're here to work healing humans. And, if you wouldn't mind, we really need these two to get up to speed so that we can do the work that we're here to do. And, sometime in my lifetime would be great, because I'm like 30 now. And I'm walking along, and I'm thinking, that's not cool. My brother's a healer, and then his sister turns up and, wanders in. Oh, guess what? I'm hearing from the fairies about, and so I kind of kept it to myself. But it sort of ended up, I have this situation where if I don't pass on messages, things go wrong. So if I, for example, get a message here and I don't contact the person, and I just kind of think, what? Because this is what I used to do. If they want to talk to me, they'll contact me, and, that'll prove that I'm meant to talk to them. And, I'll go out to hop in the car to go and do what I've got to do, and the car won't start, and I'll come back in and I've locked the keys in. So, I just have, I have learned it is what it is. And so then I've created this thing in my mind of, it's off my desk and onto yours, right? So if I hear a message, I'll just send it out there, and then they can do with it what they want. And so this is sort of how it worked with these guys. And so then, a few days later, there became an opportunity to, spend some time on the farm with Renate and Ernst. And I felt very compelled. Like, it was just so strong then. It was just so compelling. It was like, you've just got to do what you've got to do. And so I shared this with them. And we took it fairly well. It was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Rightio. And then I just had this really strong message of like, you have to show her. And I'm like, I don't know how to show her that the horses are here to work with people. And I just got shown a massage bed in the corral. So I said, well, why don't we just take a bed down to, the stables and pop you on it, and the horses, if they want to work with you, will come around. She goes, no, they're down in the fields, it's the middle of the day.
But the really crazy thing about this is as well that I never had a massage table, but I ordered it just a week before, not knowing why. I just thought, okay, it feels as if I should have a massage table. So it was the first time I ever used it when you came, and we put it up for the first time ever.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and so I put Renate on the table, and all the horses came up from the fields, middle of the day. And then they started coming around her, and there was Naoli worked very closely with me, and there was Lexi, and they all, circled, and some were close and some were, but there were several that were right on her and working with me, and I could feel, because of what I do, I could feel their energy. and Naoli was meant to be there. And I think there was questions at the time of she wasn't sure she wanted Naoli there, or he wasn't.
Doris? No.
Yeah. There was something about like Naoli was saying, I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to be doing this work.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wanted to make sure that, someone knew that to include him. And so we were working on her, and the experience for you of that was pretty incredible. But then what they did upstairs is they told me that I had to open up Renate's energy fields and basically give her attunements to Reiki healing, even though she hadn't done any training or classes or anything. They just said to me, it's all right, you got this, Anjii, deal with it afterwards. We need you to open her up now. So there was a whole urgency around this thing. So I just did it. I didn't say anything, which I should have, like legally I should have. So I attuned Renata to, and she's just lying there, and she's saying, oh, I can feel like there's holes in my hands, and there's like energy coming through. And I'm like, and yeah. So how did it feel for you, Renata, when we were doing that?
When it first happened, it was so crazy. I had never experienced that before, but they really opened up holes. I could see it. I could feel it. It was like really as if there are holes and the tunnel going through right into my arms. And yeah, that's where energy was flowing through.
Yeah. So basically upstairs guided me to, she needs to be doing this work now. She needs to be attuned to be doing this. Her body needs to be prepared to be doing this. So that's what I did. And it wasn't until afterwards when she said, what did you do? And I'm like, oh, well, I was a little bit guided. And it went from there. And so that was an amazing day. And then Ernst came home from work, and I'm sort of like, well, I sort of better get going now. And he's like, yay, glad you're here. And we sat there and talked till like 11 o'clock that night or something, didn't we? Like it was some phenomenal hour.
It was after midnight.
Yeah.
It was way after midnight, yeah.
It was too. Mm-hmm. So that was our encounter. And then from there, I came back to Australia, and, I was here, and it was a couple of months later, and I had a huge day here. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I finally finished everything that I had to do. And I thought, you know what? I've got a bottle of wine there. So I get a bottle of wine, and it lasts me like 2 weeks. It probably tastes disgusting at the end, but every now and then I think, you know what? I'm going to be like a big person and have a glass of wine. So I'm out on the veranda. I'm in the dark, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh, wow, that was huge, and I'm having a sip of my wine. And then suddenly I hear a voice, and it was, hello, I really need your help. I'm dying. And I'm like, okay, put the wine down. It's obviously gone completely off, and I'm sitting there, and it's like, you need to help me. I'm dying. I'm dying. And so when I heard that, I like focused in and thought, where is it coming from? And I could see this horse Tessa, and I could tell her by, the blaze on her face. And she's standing there, and I'm like, what do you mean you're dying? She's going, I'm dying. I've only got a few days left. I'm really sick. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong? And she's going, and then all of a sudden I start feeling my jaw is hurting and my teeth are hurting. And so I'm like, okay, they're going to think I'm crazy, but I know what I have to do. So I messaged Renata in Austria and said, hey, Renata, how you doing? Hey, how's your old girl Tessa going? She's going, yeah, she's fine. And, she was busy doing her day. And I said, look, she's just contacted me, and she said she's not very well. And she's like, no, she's good. She's had the bed out this week, and he said she's fine. She's just old. And I said, well, she says she's only a few days off dying. And Renata was horrified. Like, what? And I'm like, yeah. She's going, no, look, she's fine. The bed was just out. It was the same day or yesterday. But yeah, no, everything's fine. And I said, look, she's telling me this. And I said, can you just go and check on her? And she's going, look, she's fine. You know, Renata's busy. And I'm like, can you do me a favor? Go and take a photo of her for me. Like, oh, you know, because like Renata's trying to run a farm and do all of these things, and everything has to be concise on a farm. And there's some weirdo in the middle of the day, you know, take a photo of your horse for me. The vet's just been there. So she went and took a photo, and she took the photo, and then I felt it. I just like was overwhelmed with what the horse was going through. She'd lost so much weight since I'd been there. And I said, look, she's telling me she's really sick. And Renata's going, well, you know, she's old, Anjii. And I said, no, she's saying that something else. She's saying there's something wrong with her teeth. Like my teeth, my whole jaw and everything's hurting. There's something going on in her mouth. And Renata's going, okay. And I said, can you look in her mouth? And Renata said, I don't think so. She's a grump. And I'm like, look, you know, and I've got Tessa on the other side, sort of going to me, tell her I'll let her. Tell her look at my mouth. I'll let her look into my mouth. And I'm saying, she says she'll let you. And, you know, by this time I wasn't getting messages back. So I thought that Renata had gone and just stopped replying. And then next thing I get a message. Yeah.
What I did then, when I heard I can look into her mouth, she was standing next to me, and I opened the mouth, I hold the tongue, and I slipped my arm into her mouth up to my elbow. And I could feel that the cheek is wounded from the inside, and the teeth are loose. And but it was so incredible that I was allowed to put my arm into her mouth, up to this long, and nothing happened. I would have never dared to do so. It was But I trusted really that I'm allowed to.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Tess is like standing there saying to me, and so I'm getting the picture of, so when horses eat, they actually grind. Their teeth are made to go like this, and they grind the food, and then that creates the saliva that comes down and creates the juice. Then it all goes down together, and then it can sort of come down and go through their stomach. And so she wasn't able to do this grinding because it was like catching. So she couldn't grind her food. So she was trying to sort of do the best she could. And I'm saying she can't eat properly. And she's going, no, she's eating all her food. And we took a video, and then we stopped it, and we could see that bits were falling out of her mouth. And, you know, whatever was going down was just going down whole. So it wasn't getting broken down in her stomach and coming through. And, oh, yes, that's her on the day. And then 2 weeks later after our work with her. So the one on the left is her 2 weeks later. The one on the right. Was that the day that we treated her?
I think so.
It was about the day, yeah. So I don't know if we can see her hind from there. Yeah. So if you move the pictures of people across and you look at her hind quarters, you can see that her top line on the one on the right, when she's sick, there's no meat left on it, and then back over her rump, see how she's losing all her form there. So she was saying that I'm a couple of days off dying. That's how bad this is. So Renata said, look, that the equine dentist has just been here like a week ago or something. I'll get him back. And then I heard this yell in my head of Tessa the horse saying, no, I don't like him. I want a different one. And so she got her teeth fixed, and the way that was. But where we went in that conversation was then, so it's all sorted, someone's onto it, someone's going to help me. And then Tessa the horse, I started feeling this giggling feeling inside me. And then I could hear Tessa, the horse, going, whoa, I can't believe I did that. I'm just talking to someone on the other side of the world to talk to someone standing right next to me to fix me. Unbelievable. Like, she was just like elated. She's like, oh my God, this is like so cool. So then she started going, and so like, look, make my food really soupy. So I'm saying, make it soupy. And she goes, yeah, I put water in it. And she's, no, tell her make it more soupy. And I'm going, look, you need to put like 2 liters of water in it. And anyway, so then we went and made up a feed and put water. And then, you know, Tessa's like, yep, that's perfect. And then she starts going, oh, and, you know, a little bit of carrot juice and that'd be good, thank you. And a bit of apple juice, thank you. And I'm just laughing because this horse was just like, the feeling it was giving me inside was just this elation and this hilarity of, you know, because Renata, you were saying to me, yeah, it's been strange. She hasn't been eating her carrots lately. And she's going, yeah, no, you can juice it, put it here. And so she had all of these instructions. So that situation there was incredibly eye-opening, wasn't it? It was,
yeah.
It was,
for the last half year she was living, or 10 months, I was, she got apple juice and carrot juice twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, and I poured it above her food, and and soak it in with water, and she loved that.
Absolutely. It was just really incredible. And so where we went from there with Tessa was, Tessa then realized that she could contact me. So she started just popping in, right, and contacting me. And I had one of the girls from the embassy living here from Portugal. And, you know, she'd sort of witnessed things, and she'd done some, you know, look, I want to do some work on myself. So we did some work, and then I started training her into Reiki so that she could go back to Portugal with some, you know, some healing skills and some self-empowerment. And she started saying, you know, I'd be in my room and I'd get this sensation of a horse galloping around the backyard, right? And she'd come in from the other end of the house. She'd say, is there a horse here? And I'd be like, I think so. And then, you know, the horse started talking to me and going, so listen, so what I want to do is we need to, you know, she started instructing me how she wanted people taught, you know, let's make a circle. And we started doing all these things and making a circle. And then there are other people around, Renata and Ernst, who were, you know, involved in the circle. So we started making the circle. I think we started it with a healing for her, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Tessa was on her own learning journey about how to be a healer as a horse and how to communicate. And so then she started communicating. So we had this circle, and then Tessa started communicating with each person in the circle. And she would give different messages, and sometimes she'd give the same messages just so that there could be clarification and validation. And she was amazing, wasn't she? Like the work that she did. And she started working with the horses and teaching them what she knew and how to connect. And it's just been the most incredible journey that, you know, went so much further from there. But, you know, like how did you guys feel when, you know, after the tooth thing? How did you feel about it, Ernst? Because you're a psychologist, very high up in your industry, and you're, you know, this is like weird stuff to your industry.
It was just an experience for me, and I never dared to think too much about it in a logical way. And I just want to experience it. And I did it. Yeah. And I think that's the best way to blank out everything which can disturb.
Yeah. And you did experience it, didn't you?
Yep.
Do you want to share that?
I experienced, especially, it was on the day before Tessa died. and she in the evening she was already falling down, and we helped her, and she finally was standing again, and she was feeling much better than before. And I was going down to the other horses, and I think I was opening a fence. And when I walked back to the stable, Tessa passed me by, going down to the pasture, and it was immediately there that I know, yes, like I'm going down there to die, and it was there, and it was, but it was okay. It's also with the same thing, the same feeling. It's okay. I'm going down there to die, and that's the way it is, and it's the right way. Yeah, and it was just an experience.
And she did the next morning.
Yep.
She went down there because it was just on evening, wasn't it, when you had the conversation with her?
Yeah, it was not in the evening. More. It was already dark.
Yeah.
It was already.
When you got up in the morning, she was there by her.
In the morning, then I was waking up with the feeling that it's not time. That it will be. Yep.
And this morning we found her laying under the tree where I already saw it before, and the herd was standing next to her, and she couldn't get up anymore, and she was about to die. And that's on the 23rd of May. It's the first date of birth of death. So it's almost a year that happened.
Absolutely. And she'd shown you where she was where you were going to find her. She'd shown you where she was going to be.
Yeah, I had this picture.
Thanks for listening. Anjii is available for clinical hypnotherapy specializing in PTSD, trauma release, and active living and regression therapy via Zoom. To book or find out more about online workshops, you can contact her at anjieb@gmail.com or visit her Facebook page and YouTube channel